Hi ladies, we're going to start today with our January flowers. 2020 is here. I'm super excited about doing the calendar club with you guys and giving you a demo each month of the flowers. I'm not going to do every single one. I'm just going to do one demo for each flower. We have the large one, our medium, our little cotton, and then our stem with the bud. So let's get started. You're going to need some things to actually do these flowers, so you're going to make sure that you have out. One of them is going to be your zig writer. Make sure you've got that available. You're going to need white paint or Nuvo. I'm a little obsessed with this one because I like how the top comes off and then I can just dip my toothpick in it for highlighting and things like that. We're going to be using Sunburst Stickles, Vintage Photo ink, and also a finger dauber is important. Thanks to Miss Katrina Sharon, this is one of my absolute favorite things to have in my toolbox. It is just a travel size Q-tip holder, and I also stick toothpicks in there. Sometimes I'll stick in also cotton balls because you're going to want to do those and use them every time you're using chalk. So that brings us to the chalk. This is the chalk that I'm going to be using for our calendar club. You can use the Pebbles chalk or whatever you have. This one was given to me by Janice Woolley because my chalk fell and broke and made such a big mess. But I have all the chalks and I use them all depending on what I'm doing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the small end of our zig writer, and it's super important that you do all of your black zig writer first. I see a lot of people doing a lot of the chalking and inking first, and that's a huge mistake. Because when you do that, what happens is your pen will pick up the chalk and the ink, and then it doesn't work as well. So always make sure you're doing your zig writer part first. So when you're doing this, we're just going to go along the outer edges and kind of free-forming and the shape of the flower, and then adding a few dots here and there wherever we pick up our pen. So let's just kind of go around and do the outer side. Sometimes I'll pull these in so it shows the separation of each petal. And I did that on here in a couple spots on these flowers. Try to be a little random with your dotting. Don't always do 3 or 5. Make sure you've got 2s and 1s. There we go. All right, so that should be good for our outside. And now we're going to do the inside of this flower with the veining. So we're going to pull in from the inside. We're just going to kind of make a little V from the inside to the outside of each one, almost like a tree or a vine. You're just pulling into the center. We're going to cover this up so it doesn't have to be perfect or anything special. And then you're going to go back and we're going to add some dotting, trying to really keep it in focus and get my hand out of the way so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm not going too far into the center because I'm going to put another flower on top of this. So that for me looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go back and add some larger dots with the other end of the zig writer. And try to be random. Don't just do one spot. Hop around the flower just like we would if we were doing a circle or a star. All right, and then I like to do real heavy on the inside. And that's going to be it for this one. With that, we've got our smaller flower that we're going to do that's going to go inside here. So I'm going to do the zig writing on that one too. I'm just going to follow along, free-forming the petals, adding a few dots here and there. And then we'll do some inside veining. Try to be real flowy with these, not a stiff line, a straight one. We're not doing straight lines. Dots on the inside, and then other side of the zig writer. We'll do a couple random dots, and then we'll do some on the inside. All right, so that's going to be it for the zig writer on the flowers, but let's do the petal so that we're going to have one whole flower together. I'm sorry, the leaf. We're going to do the 2 leaves. So simple. Start with your thin end always. And we're going to trace around the outer edge again. Wherever you stop, add a few dots and pick back up. And then we've got a veining on this one too. We've got our large dots. All right, we're good there. Now we're going to do our large leaf. This little guy is partially tucked underneath the flower, so it's just all the different layers. It doesn't have to be, there's no such thing as perfect with this. You're just trying to be where you're not very heavy-handed, so that it looks a little bit flowy. And like this right here, it looks a little like one of the lines are messed up. That's why I love to use that fat end of my zig, because then I can go back and it looks like I meant to do it. But let me finish with the rest of it. And I know most of this is not going to get covered up, but I still do it just in case, you know, the flower is tilted a different way. Go back with my veining. Add some large dots in here. I like that heavy black. All right, so that's going to be done for our black on this one with the zig writer. Now we're going to go and we're going to do our chalk. I don't actually ink any of these besides the little white ones. I did not ink any of the flowers, so we're going to stay away from that. I'm going to pull my chalk out and I'm going to use some different colors. I'm going to use the red. I'm going to use any of the pinks right along in here. Definitely be using the different greens, and I'm also going to be using black and sometimes white. So I'm just going to set these down on the side of me, and I'm going to start with the pink, and it's the darkest pink, the fuchsia that's in your box or whatever's closest to it. And I like to do like the inside of the flower with these. This is a really messy kind of, you know, you're going along the lines that you've drawn, those little veins. And then we're going to do along a few of the tips of the flower. And I know it looks really messy, but that's exactly what I do every time I do this. And then I take a cotton ball and I just use it to soften it up, so it just looks like it's got some highlighting and some edging. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to grab some red. I'm going to do that on some of the tips too. Maybe a little smidge in there, a little piece here. And see, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like a center of a flower, it's got different colors, different highlights. And I actually like that. So I'm going to leave it alone. And I'm going to take this little guy, I'm going to glue it into the center. I don't think I said you needed adhesive out, but we're scrapbooking. We always need adhesive out. And just give it a little lift on the ends, just for a little movement. All right. And then from there, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to use my white paint. So I'm going to open up the white paint, grab a toothpick, and dip it in. Definitely don't need that much, but you're going to dip it in. And then we're going to do some little white dots for highlighting. All of these are going to be little dots. And I love a highlight on everything, and you guys know that from the last calendar. All right, that's good for this guy. So we're going to just set that to the side. I always reuse all of these, even dirty cotton balls and dirty Q-tips. I don't throw them away. So while we're waiting for the white paint to dry on this one, because we still have to add the yellow glitter glue, we're going to finish up these two green stems that are right here by adding other stuff, because I'm actually going to go back in and add a little black to this one. So we're going to start with the greens, and And I'm going to go with the darkest one first, whatever my darkest color is. And I'm going to do along the edges, not the whole edge. Like, I think that's where people go wrong, is they would do the whole thing. I'm really sparsely trying to like get a highlight or a shadow on them. I'm going to do both. And then use a different Q-tip or cotton ball and just brush it off. And then it gives it dimension without really doing a lot of work. I love to use black on these because that also really helps with giving dimension. And a lot of times I use the black in the centers where the veining would be. And that's it. From there, I like to glue them together just so everything's not moving around on my page. But since this is wet, I'm going to do it anyways. I'll just put the adhesive there because I know that's how it sits. And this little guy is going to go like that. And then this one, I'm going to cover up the tip of it. So I'm going to put a little adhesive there. And I'm going to tuck it in. And then that's it for this flower. Besides, I'm going to add a little bit of black when the white paint dries. And then I'm also going to add yellow glitter. But while we're waiting, let's just go on to the next one. So we've got our big flower done. Got a little adhesive there I'm going to wipe off. Let's go ahead and do the little buds because they're all done the same. And we're going to start with our thin end of the zig writer. And you want to make it look like it has separation. So we're going to draw a line that comes down here between the two, like it's two separate petals. And then like that. And then we'll do a little point, some dots. And that's good for the zig writer outline. Then we're going to go back in and do some veining. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to add a few dots to the tip and to the end. And then I'll go back in with the large one. All right, perfect. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take that bright pink. I'm going to put that on first. And then brush it off with your cotton ball. And then I'm going to do a real pretty red tip to this one to make it look brighter. Brush it off again. And then I want that to be a lot darker, so I'm going to add some black. I'm going to get black on my Q-tip. Add black to the bottom. And then, oops, I think I got white paint on there, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to brush it off. And that is going to be it for this one. That's a little messy because of the paint, but don't worry about that. It's no big deal because I'm going to add a lot of glitter glue. And we will do the highlights on this while we're waiting. And that looks good to me. We'll set that aside and let it dry. And this is going to be a bud that's attached to the little brown stems here. I did not do anything to these. They're too small. You won't see ink and you won't see any highlighting. So you're just going to kind of leave those alone. So the next one, let's do our cotton that's here. This is really small and super delicate. What I did was I put adhesive on the little ends, and some of them have 6 white pieces, some of them don't, so make sure you're paying attention to which one you're making. And then I just push it into that little cloud of cotton. If you don't get, I'm pretty anal about having the texture side, but honestly, these are so small and tiny, if you don't get it, you're not going to be able to tell. Okay, one more. All right, so then we've got them all glued together there. I did use a little bit of black on these with some dotting. I didn't use the big side just because I think it's too big for this little tiny flower. So we're just going to go around, add a few dots. Real gentle. And then I'm going to use my Vintage Photo ink and my finger dauber. I'm going to pick it up and I'm just going to do the ends on this one. And that little guy is done. Hoping these will dry in time for me to do the glitter glue and a little bit of black inside there. I can tell this one's almost dry for us, but you know, not 100%. All right, so our last flower right here is this guy here, and it's got a few pieces to it. It's got 4, so this is what we're going to be using. We're going to start with our Zig Writer again, and this one we're going to do a little bit more defined individual petals. So we're going to start with this very big one, and we're going to pull the lines all the way back into the bottom of the flower. So we're going to start at the tip, and then pull it back into the flower, and we're creating individual petals like that. And then the same thing on these sides. I'm not going to do much of the dotting right now because I want to focus on making these look individual. And I'll move this one. All right, and then I've got that, and I've got this. Okay, so I know that looks kind of strange, but that's exactly how I did it. Now I'm going to go back, I'm going to do the veining, pull it out, give yourself, you know, a little bit of a curve to them. Every time I make a flower, it's going to be slightly different just because, you know, I'm letting it flow. I'm not trying to be too restrictive as to where the pin goes, and that's partly what makes them look like they're a little bit more free-forming. It's because I kind of let that pin take me along and it doesn't look jagged, you know, like this. You don't want that. You want a nice, soft flow to whatever you're putting on the flower. Let's go back and go ahead and do the dotting on this one. It's kind of weird too. You should be doing straight up and down, but because I'm trying to do it sideways for you guys, like it's not as perfect circle that I'm used to getting. Okay, so that's good with the small ones. We're going to go back with a few big pieces, or big dots, I should say. All right, anytime I don't like how something looks, I always put a dot there. So there's that. Let's go ahead and do the smaller part. This actually gets put on top of it, so the flower looks layered. I'm going to do one individual piece here. With some lines coming up, drawing to the points. There we go. I know part of this is going to get covered, but for me that doesn't matter. I like that layered hidden look. And you can see, like, just from this flower to this, with the difference, how it looks with that little bit of chalk on it. And even changes the color of the paper that we started to use too. And I'm going to go ahead and do the green ones here too, so that they're out of the way and done. I'm going to pull some lines and some dots. Two big ones. 1, 2. And then we've got our small tiny leaf that comes off the flower. Pull the veining, do the dots. Switch to the big side of your Zig Writer, and that is good. All right, let's continue with the chalk on this one, and I'll remember to put the black in so you can kind of see how it really darkens them up. So let's just set these aside. Sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. We're going to start with our bright pink again. You're going to get it nice in there. I like to turn it in a circle in my chalk. I like a nice fuzzy Q-tip. I'm going to pull from the bottom. Add a little bit more. Do a few spots. And let's do this one with the pink too while I've got it out. Just pulling from the bottom on that. And then brush it off with your Q-tip. So you're blending it in and just seeing some highlights on it. And then I'm going to go back in with the red. Put a little there. Let's do a little in here. See, the fuzzier this, actually the nicer the application looks. That's why I don't really like to use new Q-tips. I like to use the dirty fuzzy ones that have already been used. Brush them off. Cotton balls, totally different. Those I normally like to use new. So there's that. Let's go back with black. I'm going to get a nice fuzzy Q-tip. Go in a circular motion. I'm going to show you that actually. I'm going to pull out the chalk. So see how my chalks have a hole inside them? That's because I go like this. I do a circular motion and it makes that real fuzzy. That's what I'm talking about. So with this, I'm going to do it pretty dark from the back and the same thing from there. And I wonder if my white paint is dry. So that looks pretty. I like that. I used a pop dot, which I like to use the large pop dots, and then I cut them to the sizes that I need. I always see people cutting pop dots and they pull it off this plastic piece. Do not do that. Cut them on the actual sheet so that they're not all over the place and ruining your scissors. Pull off the sizes that you need. Put it on the back. This goes on top of the flower. And then I need my 2 green pieces. Let me just clean that off so you can see a little better. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go with my dark green. And just going to try to go along one edge. Same thing with this because it's so tiny, but still worth adding a little bit of that highlight of a different green color so it gives it a few tones. And then maybe a smidge of black in these because I like it. And then we're going to glue these pieces together. So I've got the small side here that goes on to this flower here, and then the little tiny leaf. I only need adhesive on the end, and it's going to go right there. So we've got our small flower and our big one together. Now this is still not dry, but you can tell like how the black is super important, and I'm going to put a little bit in there because I really want you to see like coming from underneath of this flower is where I should have did it. Uh-oh, you guys hear Bax? He's gotten locked out because he's so mischievous. He's whining. And then since my white paint is not dry, I'm going to soften it up with the side of a Q-tip just to see it. And the thing is if you think you don't like what you're seeing, you can always go back, because I feel like now it's a little harsh. You can always go back with the other colors and go on top of it. There's no right or wrong way to do these. It's just until you like that layered look that you have. Take that off. There we go. applying more adhesive, putting this on the inside. Because I'm so impatient, I'm just going to go back over and I'm going to redot with my white paint. So here we go. Go right over top of where the dots were before if you mess them up or hit it with your hand or whatever. Perfect. And now I've got white dots that I'm going to put on the leaves. There we go. I like how that looks. I'm going to set it aside before I end up smashing that one again. Get the white paint. All right, that looks great. So from here, after this dries, I'm going to add in the yellow glitter glue. But since we're doing a video and I have no idea how to stop and start and keep adding these, I'm gonna do it right now to show you guys. Like, I normally am very sparing with glitter glue, but on these, I added a lot. It looks really heavy-handed, and that's exactly what I was going for with this. Let me grab myself a clean piece of paper so that you guys can kind of see the change. All right, here. There we go. So here's our flowers now on a clean sheet of paper, and then we'll go in, and you can see like a little, there we go. Just blow it off, a little bit of that glitter, or not glitter, I'm sorry, chalk. And then we're gonna go in with the yellow sunburst stickles, or glitter glue as I like to call it, and you're gonna add quite a bit. It's very kind of gloppy, and it's going to dry flat, which I love about this. It can look really messy and then dries really well. So after these are dry, I will get a picture of them so you can see exactly what they looked like. Okay. Let me make sure I don't want anything else. Sometimes I would do around the outer edges, but on these ones, I just didn't. I was kind of coming out from wherever we had our like stems placed. A little bit here with the heavy dot. And then we just need these to dry, and they need to be added to the pages. And that is it, ladies.